Welcome to the Kop TV, the voice of football's most famous stand.
Yes, hello and welcome back to the Kop TV with myself, AGT, the voice of football's most famous stand. I'm sure you're all aware of that saying by now. Welcome back to episode 20 of Top of the Kops. And to join me on this occasion, it's the one and only Gav Doyle, the man that brought me into the kind of YouTube streaming world with the LFC Daytrippers. So I'm very grateful for that. He's having his return slot on my show now. How are we, Gav? Good, great to have you on, mate.
Good, great. Thanks for having me on. I don't know if I gave you your break in this, did I? I didn't know that.
Oh, it was between you and Terry Springer, so you can take.
Oh yeah, good old Terry. Terry's some character, he really is. But no, listen, it's an absolute pleasure to come on, and thanks for having me.
No worries at all. If you are watching now, guys, please get your comments in. We'd like as many random questions as we can get for myself and Gav to answer. Obviously, going to be touching on Liverpool as well, but we're all about the random questions. When I first came on the Daytrippers, the best part of it, if I'm honest, was the random questions at the end. So we're a big fan of that. So do get your questions in. But let's talk a little bit about the weekend's action. 2 games since the weekend, really. So United 2-1, our first Premier win in a few games, and as well the Midtjylland game last night, Gav 2-0. 2 wins on paper, but both wins very, very hard fought.
Yeah, they are very, very hard fought, Alex. It's what we're going to have to get used to, I think. We're looking at two games, I think, where we looked a little bit disjointed. I'm going to be honest with you. Not so much in the Sheffield United game, but most definitely in the Midtjylland game. We've problems at centre half, which I'm sure we'll probably get on to in a couple of minutes. But but on top of that, it's affecting our midfield because we're using one of our midfielders to play at centre back, and that backfired a bit last night as well. We have midfielders out: Naby Keita, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, and of course Thiago Alcantara, who's due back. It looks like by the weekend. But Alex, I'm going to be honest with you. I think between now and probably Christmas, you're probably going to see Liverpool grind out a hell of a lot of results. You may get ones where they turn teams over and just, go through them for a shortcut. But I think the way it's shaping up at the moment, the volume of games, how close they are together, the injuries that you'll pick up, suspensions will come quick as well, I think. Just because players could be that little couple of percent off it late into a tackle, stuff like that. More yellow cards are built up, and I'm quite comfortable with it. I'm a bit frustrated with it.
It's not ideal, is it? You don't want this, Gav, do you?
It's not ideal. You don't want it. Like, in an ideal world, Alex, we'd have Virgil van Dijk still fit. We'd have Joe Gomez playing beside him, and we'd have Fabinho, Henderson, Thiago in midfield, and the 3 lads up front. And you'd be like, bring everybody on, all at the same time if you want. But it's one of those now where we're having to be creative in not only the lineup we're playing or the starting 11, but the way we set them out on the pitch. We have to be a little bit more creative. And look, I am frustrated by certain aspects of it. But having said that, I think Liverpool could grind their way to this league. If it comes down to a grind, I'll back Liverpool every day of the week, I think, at this stage.
Yeah, we're quite good in the last 3 years in the league. In terms of grind win, we weren't used to it before. We thought that we had to outscore the opponent, but it is okay to win 1-0, and it is okay to win 2-1. It is okay to grind results out, and a team that can do that on a consistent basis, for me, shows all the qualities of a champion. So 2-1 against Sheffield United. Jota, lovely little winner from himself. He scores again last night. He's the type of player, Gav, and I'm not sure about you, but when we sign players, I often study them beforehand and once we've actually signed them. And I sometimes have doubts about players fitting in. For some reason, Gavin, and please let me know what you felt as well. When we signed Jota, I absolutely had zero doubt about him fitting in, because when we make a signing these days, there's not years, but there's months of planning in, prior to it. And we don't just buy players on a whim. We have our data-led analysis, and we go in for players like that. But I was never even in doubt that Jota wouldn't start well. I don't know about you.
I don't know if I was completely and utterly sold on him. You know, I wasn't going. You know, I wasn't balking at the price and saying, "What are we doing here?" I've
Yeah.
seen lots of Jota, and I don't rate him. You know, Wolves are a very easy team to watch. You know, there's always teams in the Premier League where we're Liverpool fans, and last season for me, in the first half of the season anyway, I was really interested in Leicester and what way Leicester will play, And there's always a team that kind of interests me. This season, I think it's more Leeds are the one that's kind of caught me eye. But Wolves are always around that, aren't they? Because of, the players they have, Jimenez, Adama Traore, Jota last season, of course. Ruben Neves, centre midfield. You've Joe Matinho.
Coutinho, yeah.
Yeah, you've
Great.
Patricio in goal. They're just an interesting
yeah.
side. Yeah, they're an interesting side to watch. And whenever I watched Wolves, I was always impressed by Jimenez. I was impressed by Jota. I was impressed by all of them. Ruben Vinagre I think is a really good player. I'm a big fan of him. But I suppose you look and go, yeah, he's assists good, he scores a couple of goals, couple of years experience in the Premier League. He seems like a good fit. And you're right what you say. Liverpool don't look at, Ismaili Sarr and say, oh, well, we can't play that. Who else is around? Let's just buy somebody. They have Jota on the radar for 12 months probably at least. And the thing that sold it for me was we done a show on the LFC Daytrippers just as he was announced, and the Wolves fan that came on with us was saying, when he was saying his attributes, presses really well, really good on the ball, really intelligent movement, can score. He's saying all the stuff that just Klopp would just lap up every day of the week, the kind of way. So for me, he's a really good signing. It's a signing that we needed. When you look around the backup we have in the forward line, particularly Origi, Brewster that was there, Shaqiri, Minamino, he's something different to them. And I think he was a priority. That sort of signing was a priority in the summer. And we got it done. We seem to have got it done on a scale of money that suits us, so much up front and moving it throughout 4 or 5 years, which is great for us as well, particularly in the current situation with regards to a global pandemic. But he's hit the ground running, Alex. He's been absolutely excellent. He's worked so hard. He was a bright spark even against Villa when we were absolutely atrocious. He scored now at the Kop end against Arsenal. He scored against Midtjylland. He scored against Sheffield United. And, he's really started well. And it gives you great confidence for the season that if you don't want to be changing your whole front three like we did last night in one go, but if one of them is missing, he looks like a player that can come in and fill a really large hole in the team and fill it quite well, I think.
It looks like, from his perspective, that he doesn't just want to be that guy who comes in and fills the gaps when we're maybe not scoring. It looks like, from his performances so far, wherever we've played him, he's going out there to say, well, look, you might play me in a one-off in the Champions League against Midtjylland, but trust me, I'm going to score. And as well as that, I'm going to give you a selection headache going forward for the weekend, because we come into this West Ham game on Saturday now, and we're thinking, well, Firmino scored in the last game, so that kind of buys him at least one more game. But if I was Jota, I'd be pretty pissed off if I wasn't in the starting 11 on Saturday.
Oh, that's a big show. I get where the Firmino
people that are saying Firmino's got to be a 10 and Jota's got to be a number 9. So there's a lot of shout for him to start, Kat.
Yeah, but I think the show for Firmino to be a 10 and Jota to be a 9 comes off the back of Firmino being targeted a little bit about his form. On our show last night, a reviewer made a great point. He said, look, this fella's playing football 3 years without a break. It's going to catch up with him at some stage. Now, I'm not saying he hasn't been in great form. He hasn't. He scores against Sheffield United. That's great. He's there to score goals. He's there to score goals in theory. His goal return is never quite as high as the other two lads each side of him. And we can have the argument all day about who does he complement, what does he do for Salah and Mane. I think it's quite obvious what he does for Salah and Mane. But when coming back to Jota, there's multiple reasons why we've changed the system a little bit and gone with 2 in midfield. One, I think, is because of the lack of midfielders we have and trying to rotate within that pool that we have at the moment, which is quite small. So going with 2 and trying to rotate is easier than going with 3 and trying to rotate, if you know what I mean. The other thing is 2 in midfield is a little bit more protection for the centre-half situation, which, of course, was going to bed itself in, but now Fabinho being out, we're going to have to try a new partnership there. And, of course, it's probably looking at Jota's form and saying, well, we need to probably get him in the team. So can we make the best of this at the moment and say, right, our centre-back problem is a problem. Our midfield, where numbers-wise we're down, but we can get 2 in there and rotate, and we should be okay. But let's gamble a little bit, and let's put them 4 lads up the pitch. Because, Alex, if you go back to 2017, at the start of that season, it was all about the Fab Four, wasn't it? Salah, Mane, Firmino, and Philippe Coutinho. And in fairness, that couple of months when Coutinho was there before he leaves into January, we were unbelievable. And it wasn't because we said Firmino was a 9 or a false 9 or whatever. It was literally, we got those 4 on the pitch. They started in certain positions and they interchanged all day long. And people couldn't live with them. And it was Firmino, or I think it was Coutinho's best return over a certain period of time, 3 or 4 months in his career for goals and assists. So Jota, they may be looking at, it might fall at the right time for Jota where they go, we're going to protect ourselves a little bit more at the back, but let's throw those 4 on and make other teams think about what we're doing. Because the accusation at Liverpool at the moment is that they're becoming a bit predictable in a 4-3-3. I don't believe that. If predictable means that you suffocate teams and beat them, I'll take predictable all day. But having said that, Jota in that 4 makes a hell of a lot of sense. And I think if they stick with it, I think the biggest benefactor of it all will be Roberto Firmino, because it's changing up the tree. It's changing up what you had there in the tree, and it can become a bit monotonous playing the same thing every week. But if you add in a fourth, and they're all interchanging, Firmino's freed up a little bit, and I think it could work. It could work, but it could go badly wrong at the same time.
No, I think you're so right in comparing it to that 16, 17, 6 months that we had, where it was the 3 lads up top and Coutinho. And like you say, before his move to Barcelona, I'm pretty confident in saying that those 3 or 4 months before, he was playing the best that he's ever played in, which definitely helped him get that move across the line in January rather than the summer. But now it's almost, because we've, like you say, again, we've played in the same way now for probably 3 years since Coutinho has left. It's almost foreign to some people that we can actually play with 4 attacking players over 3. And that's what we were doing for those 6 months. And I think that 6 months definitely helped us get into the Champions League that season, which has obviously put us on the pedestal for major other victories that we've got. But, I'm completely with you. I think it could definitely work out in Firmino's favour if Jota does start the game as well as him, in terms of interchanging and all chipping in with goals. And then if you're all chipping in with assists and goals, no one really looks at you to say, listen, you need to be getting off. Because listen, if you've got 2 assists and no goals, if you're Firmino, you're starting the game either way, aren't you?
Well, yeah. And at the end of the season, if Firmino walks off this season with 10 goals in all competitions, and the other Mane and Salah are doing 25 plus, and Jota's knocking in 10, 15, and Minamino comes in with 5 or 10. If you're standing there at the end of the season with a Premier League title or a European Cup or both, nobody gives. Can I use language? Nobody gives 2 shits about how many goals or assists Roberto Firmino has. At the end of the day, like, if you go back and look at the most decorated players, in world football, they may have brilliant attributes, they may have brilliant stats, but nobody really reads them. The only stats that are read out at the moment is Ronaldo against Messi. How many games did he play? How many goals have they got? Because it's a farce at this stage how many goals them 2 have. It's absolutely unbelievable. But at the end of the season, you look at it and you say, okay, he didn't get as many goals we thought he would, but you're standing there with trophies. Nobody cares. Nobody actually cares, And when you look at Jota and you look at if you look at the midfield, Alex, right? The midfield's a good one. So, I don't think the 4 attacking players on the pitch at the same time is probably the way to go for Liverpool, in my honest opinion. My honest opinion would be stick with 4-3-3. I would put Thiago in there with Fabinho and Henderson in everything being equal and everybody being fit. For the simple reason is I think you have everything there to go and suffocate teams. And you can tell me that teams know the way Liverpool play. Listen, I know what way the lottery is done, but I don't know what balls are going to come out. Do you know what I mean? So, it's all very well known, the process, but stopping it or having the magic touch to stop it is a completely and utterly different thing. The difference Thiago makes is instead of you thinking of Liverpool as a workman-like, efficient midfield, yes, it can still be that. But with him in there, it's a completely different animal. and it frees up so many players around him to be it frees up the fullbacks even more, in my opinion. But that midfield works as a team, and they rotate as a team. So I can't see why it can't be done up front. And where you say to the front three, as they are now, Jota, Minamino, and Shaqiri, for argument's sake, listen, you six are a team, and I'm going to use you at different parts of the season. That's what a squad is all about. It's completely and utterly what a squad is about.
And I think they all know that as well. They all know that they're going to be coming in and out of the team. Even Origi started last night. I think we're good enough to play with that 4 up front, if you want to call it that. But still, even with Fabinho at centre-back at the minute, even though he's injured right now, but even let's just say he's at centre-back for our next 4 games, I think even though we've got 4 up top, if we play Henderson and Wijnaldum in the middle, we've still got enough defensive minds there to deal with any counter-attack. So I think as much as, yes, of course, we'd much prefer that we weren't as depleted in terms of injuries, I still think we've got enough to cover all the bases. I just quickly wanted to touch on some other results at the weekend. Obviously, Everton's unbeaten run came to a swift end at St Mary's. Obviously, a former Red man, Danny Ings, helping out with that. Man City drew at West Ham. Arsenal lost at home to Leicester, their first home defeat of 2020. It was almost the perfect weekend. We were the only team in the top 6 to get a win.
Yeah, and it's going to be one of those seasons. This is why I come back to grinding things out. Because, if you look, in most seasons, Alex, you say to yourself, start of the season, we'll have a couple of weeks in the Premier League. There's always an international break thrown in there. The League Cup is the League Cup. It doesn't make much of a difference to your Premier League form or the players that are in it. And then you have Champions League, which is usually spread out every 2 weeks, up until December, and then you can forget about it until February. It's not like that now. It's if you have any aspirations about you, and teams on different levels, like Everton have aspirations about themselves for the League Cup. Probably top 4. You can't write anyone off at this stage because it's a condensed season. It's going to be lots of games in quick succession with injuries, with suspensions, loss of form. You could lose form for 2 or 3 weeks and only be out of form for 3 games. You lose it now and you're out of form for 6 games. It's everything is coming together. If you told me last year Fabinho's out for 3 weeks, you go, he's only missing 3 games. Now he's missing 6. So it's a strange season. But like you said, those results, like Man City, you have to question whether Man City have the bottle for this anymore, or whether those players are just sick and tired of listening to that fella on the sideline who's completely burning his own head out. And I keep saying it, he's burning his own head out and he's burning his players' heads out. And no matter how much money he spends on centre backs, I just don't. I could come to totally be made a fool of on this. I just don't know if they have the bottle for it. Now people will say, well, they won back-to-back titles, and they were a bit off it last season. But you look at it this season, and there's frailties there. They don't look as clinical. They don't look as fast. But listen, having said that, we could get to the end of the season. Man City could be champions. Just the way it stands now, they could have a turnaround in form. Arsenal are going in the right direction, but they come up against the wily old Leicester. The wily old Leicester came out the other day and done what they've done to many a team over the last 4 or 5 years. Everton were beaten and probably could have been beaten by more. The whole Digne incident.
Reduced to 1 game now, Gav.
Reduced to 1 game. And you know what? I'm not too fussed over it, to be honest with you. Whether it's 1 or 3, I'm not too bothered. But, they could have been beaten by a bit more. It's overshadowed by Digne. Ancelotti done himself no favours this week either, in my opinion, the way he went on. But listen, that's just the way it is. But again, Liverpool went and won, and the most annoying thing for other fans of other clubs will be, they weren't even good, were they, against Sheffield United? Give credit to Sheffield United, they were very, very good. But Liverpool were probably at 60
for them this season.
Yeah, they probably beat Liverpool were probably about 60-65% in my opinion, and still won the game. And that's what kills other teams, Alex. That's what kills other teams. And we seen it last season. City would drop points, Liverpool would be all over them. City would win and go, we won, and Liverpool would go, well, so did we. They never let up. And when you don't let up, it doesn't matter how good you think the other side is, eventually it just gets to them and they break, they fold. And I'm hoping that we do it in a way, especially between now and Christmas, that we grind it. And if we grind it and get through to New Year and start getting players back and players on form and it's a bit more stable defensively in the midfield, I don't think anyone's stopping us, Alex. I'm being honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, you're so right in what you say about people getting annoyed that Liverpool keep getting these results over the line. For instance, I mean, obviously, I live in North London. I get texts from Arsenal and Spurs going, oh, for fuck's sake, Liverpool have won again. When are they going to? And that stuff, I love that stuff because there's nothing they can do about it. It's annoying to them that we keep picking up the victories. Speaking of victories, we could definitely do with one on Saturday, 5:30 kickoff, which statistically, Gav, is our favourite time to play football, 5:30 on a Saturday. The last time we played West Ham at Anfield, it was kind of sandwiched in between those Madrid games. And I was at the game and it was 3-2 to us, I think. We won. We scraped through. West Ham played really well on that day. So talk to me about a score prediction for Saturday. It's going to be tough. Of course it is. West Ham are on fire right now. But with Thiago coming back, Alisson's obviously settled now, back in the team. We might even have Matip back. But obviously the title of this video is Rhys at centre-back. So the question to you, Gav, is let's get a score prediction for Saturday. But let's also get your centre-back partnership.
Saturday's a difficult one. I think Michail Antonio was out. Is he for West Ham? I've heard rumours of that.
So,
yeah,
which is a huge plus, to be honest.
Huge plus. I get ribbed by Rhys quite a bit because I told him about 6 months ago. I don't like Antonio. I don't rate him, and since then he scored about 25 goals.
Yeah,
but look, he causes trouble. He gets a great goal against City at the weekend. In fairness, he's physical, he's strong, he's quick, and he's a bit of an eye for goal. In fairness to him, over the season, I think he misses too many games through injury, but I could be wrong again on that. A stats man somewhere will tell me I'm completely wrong. That's just my own feeling on him. But watching West Ham at the weekend, well organised. Rhys and Souček in the middle were really good for them. You know, Bowen down the right-hand side looks a threat. And, they look well. They're a David Moyes team. They're well organised. They're well drilled. But he seems to be getting a little bit more out of this West Ham team than he did last year. There seems to be a bit more creativity. They seem to take a few more risks, a little bit more brave than they usually would be under the Moyes. But 5:30 statistically is their favourite time to play football, Alex, but that's usually at Anfield with a crowd, 55,000 there. It's a completely different animal, isn't it, with nobody at the ground, It evens stuff out. But then it comes down to ability, and I think Liverpool have more ability than everyone else in the league, I think. You could argue Man City have as much ability, but mentally I think Liverpool are better. This weekend, the Matip thing frustrates the life out of me. I'm not going to lie. He's played 2 games of football, I think, since the football came back.
You've made out crisps, this fella, isn't it?
Well, it's you know what? It's not even that. It's small niggles, small strains, going for a scan.
A mental thing though, Gav, because we've all read these stories of players playing on through the pain barrier. You've seen Didi Hamann had a broken foot during the Istanbul final. I've heard stories about Gerrard getting injections before game. Listen, I love Joel Matip, but it seems like every other clip I watch of him, one clip be him doing fun or doing a great slide tackle, but then the other clip will be him walking into a fucking hospital to get a scan. Is it a mental thing, or is he made out of crisps?
It could be a mental thing, but the mental thing doesn't come upon you, yesterday. The mental thing is probably with you quite a long time, and we'd have to know all the details because we got to the summer, we made our priorities, which was Thiago, Jota, a left back, and Tsimikas, and we with the centre half situation, Lovren of course leaves. They use Fabinho as an emergency, which was the emergency was pretty fucking quick, to be honest with you. The Virgil van Dijk stuff is a freak. It's a freak injury, so you can't really legislate for that at the start of the season. But with Matip, it just seems to be in for a game, gone, got stood on his toe. He's out for so long, and it's not something where you can hang your hat on. He's not someone you can hang your hat on, in my opinion. But having said that, we need him back. And don't get me wrong. If you tell me Matip comes back on Saturday and plays till Christmas and then pisses off for another couple of them, fair enough. I'm not too bothered. But at the weekend, Rhys Williams isn't going to play centre back for Liverpool in a Premier League game. I don't think. Not this early in his career. I could nearly see him going Henderson, Gomez if Matip's not fit. I'll be honest. I could see him going Alisson in goal, Trent, Henderson, Gomez, Robertson, and then I think he'll go back to a 4-3-3 in that case. I think he'll go. Or can he? I don't know if he can put Milner back in there again, but I think he will go Thiago. He will go Wijnaldum, and I don't know what the story is with Keita. Nobody knows what's going on with him either. But I think it'll be Henderson, Gomez. If he goes with two midfield, Thiago, Wijnaldum, and then you use the four that we've already spoken about. But you want the score prediction?
Yeah, a quick one.
3-1 Liverpool.
3-1. Do you know what? I thought 3-1 before, so I'm going to stick with that. I think, again, it's a game that we could easily concede in, but when you take away the fans, it becomes a level playing field until the technical ability and the quality of the players comes out to play. And then, like you say, Liverpool have that over West Ham. So that's a look forward to the weekend. I wanted to get in to Match Day Mixer, my favourite part of the show, Gav. So obviously, if you're new to the show, the Match Day Mixer is, it's a little nod to the days that we all miss and love going to the match. So before the show, I've asked Gav to pick out a jacket and a sneaker combo. We've also got some music that he's picked out and some food and drink. 5 vital parts of the match day experience that have been ripped away from us. So we're bringing them back to you. So I normally start off with the jacket. So we'll go with that, Gav. Now, obviously, I sent you a list of options to choose from beforehand. I also said you could maybe go outside of those options, which you have. You've gone for a super dry jacket, obviously a big warm one. And I'm assuming that you've picked this knowing that when you do go to the games, it's always cold. I don't know about you, Gav, but whenever I go to Anfield, it could be 25 degrees out. As soon as kickoff comes around, it's freezing.
Nighttime, yes. Usually any time outside of August or May, yes, I agree with you. Listen, I said super dry because of a super dry jacket and it's quite warm. But anything that is fleeced inside to keep you warm. Although I did get caught once at Anfield going, it was the opening day of the season, 18-19. Naby Keita's debut, I think. We beat West Ham, believe it or not, 3-0. 4-0, sorry, you're right. And I was in the Kop. I was quite high up in the middle of the Kop. And my God, it was the hottest I've ever been at a football game.
Really?
It was unbelievable. I thought I was going to melt in the place. I had a hoodie with me that day. Didn't have a jacket. Put the hoodie in front of me on the seat in front of me because it was warm. And literally by the time halftime came, I was using the hoodie as a towel. It was so fucking hot, so hot. Now, having said that, arriving in Liverpool on the Saturday morning at 7:00 and drinking from about, we played football against the Anfield Wrap that day, but probably from about 1:00 in the afternoon to probably 5 a.m. I don't think that helped. I think we were just the drink was coming out of us while we were standing on the Kop. But usually a jacket that's really warm as you can get, because you know you're going to need it.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, I can't actually remember the last time I sat in Anfield with just a shirt on. When I say shirt, I mean Liverpool shirt. I just can't remember. Now, obviously, to match the trainers, you've got to have some sneakers that are, one, going to give you the comfort to dot around the city, but also you want some trainers, Gav, that aren't necessarily going to be absolutely ruined if someone does happen to pour a pint on them by accident, of course. Friendly fire, I call it. You've gone for some Adidas trainers here. The producer, Tom, to be fair, I think he's literally just typed in Adidas trainers, and these are the first picture he got, to be fair. But these, as a sneakerhead, I actually know that these are the M5923s. They used to be called the Iñakis, and then there was a lawsuit filed upon Adidas. But some really great sneakers here. Whether you meant to pick them or not is up for debate. But Adidas sneakers, you can't go wrong.
No, you can't. It's actually very important when you go to Liverpool game that you are dressed for going into town afterwards. You know, and a lot of places, for people that don't know Liverpool, a lot of places, if your trainers are too wild, I suppose, or too loud, as the doorman would like to call them, you're in trouble. So, Adidas Gazelles are good once you're not going mad with the colour. Not those Adidas you put on screen, by the way. I'm not having them. No, I'm not having them. But listen, you can go down any road You can go down any road. You can go from Lacoste. You can go Fred Perry. You can go wherever you want. But once it's comfortable, once it's all right, because you're not getting a taxi outside Anfield, so walking back into town, you're comfortable in them. And of course, when you're standing at the door of Alma the Cuba, you want to make sure that them trainers aren't too loud. So go something darker in colour. You could go something leather. So if that point drops on them, they're easily wiped. So there's loads of tips there. But Adidas, Lacoste, Fred Perry, whatever you want. Once they look okay, once they feel okay, once they're comfortable for a decent walk, and once they're not going to stop you from getting into boozer, you're absolutely flying. Absolutely,
couldn't agree more. A lot of pubs around the ground, to be fair, they take you in a pair of flip-flops, so it's all good in terms of around Anfield. It's when you get further into town, then they start asking questions. But obviously, you need some food. You need some food to keep yourself hyped up throughout the day. Again, Tom has literally typed in burger and chips, and I think this is the first thing that's come up.
Yeah,
it looks good.
To be fair. Yeah, it looks good.
Look more like churros, though, in my head.
Yeah.
They look like churros, but decent burger.
Yeah. Well, I'm up with that, yeah. I'm not a big fan of food when I'm going to the match, and what I mean by that is, if I'm in the pub, I'm not one to go, let's go and get some food.
Because I am, Gary. That's me.
I'm not.
If you need food before we start,
sit me on the high stool, and with a barman in close proximity, and I'm okay for the day.
As long as you can lean against something that won't move.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, lean on the bar, a few points, and but burger and chips, usually from the burger van behind the Kop, before you go in, just behind the Kop, opposite the Park pub. Good burger and chips there. So usually that one.
Big shout out to the Park pub, by the way. I was filming in there for Sky Sports a couple of weeks ago, and whilst I was filming, and I won't use the word that Lorraine, bless her, used, but I was filming for Sky Sports News, and all I heard was, "You bad, you cheeky, get out of here, you're never coming back." And it was a fella who didn't fancy putting in his details for the track and trace. And I was like, guys, can we just, I'm literally on Sky Sports News, so can we just keep those kind of words down? But listen, Mitchell here says...
sorry. Yeah, food ruins the drink. He's a great shot. But Haroon Pash says Shiraz is brilliant after win. Shiraz on... I'm delighted he said that and reminded me. Shiraz on John Street is the first place I go to every single time I arrive in Liverpool. Every single time, to the point where when I'm booking my flights and a hotel, I will always try get a hotel near John Street, simply because I can go to Shiraz, I can have my breakfast. The Gladstone across the road opens quite early. You go in there and have a few pints, then you go, yeah, hotel's good. Go up to the hotel, knock your bags in and away. Shiraz is the most amazing breakfast in Liverpool on John Street.
Love that. And if you're in the Liverpool area, if you're around the John Street area, Gav from the LFC Daytrippers, the Shiraz, get in there, say his name. They might even give you a little discount as well.
Don't say my name, but listen. Halfway up John Street, on the right hand side as you're coming out of Liverpool 1, it's the absolute business.
There you go, Shiraz. Right, listen. Obviously, we're talking about pints. It would be silly for you not to have a pint of beer in, so we won't even go into that because I already knew that would be your choice. But in terms of music, obviously you want to listen to some tunes that are going to get you hyped up for a game. If we were playing Man City, maybe I wouldn't play this band.
No.
But obviously, listen, Gav, before you say anything, my favourite band of all time, and I actually bumped into Liam Gallagher quite recently, and yeah, got a 6-foot poster of them both in my room. Big Oasis fan. Huge
Oasis fan. Not so much now. As the two lads doing their own solo stuff, don't listen to it, to be honest. But
you don't. You should.
No, I don't. I'm not a big fan of them both on their own. I think as Oasis, not as people. No, I don't. They don't really interest me as people. They interested me as people when they were Oasis, and they interested me as musicians when they were Oasis, but not now. Probably just getting old, and I've outgrown Oasis. I've outgrown.
Is brilliant though, Gav. I've got to say, Noel's Flying Birds from 2011 to now, genuinely. I mean, my sister's a big fan. I took her to a Noel gig recently, and we were in tears. It was that kind of atmosphere where you think, "Fuck me, I just wish I'd seen Oasis in their prime." I've seen him and Noel separately, but man, as much as I love Oasis, I would never want them to get back together.
I'm kind of with you. On it, I think too much water's passed under the bridge. I don't know how we've got onto the music scene here. I did see Oasis in 2009 at Slane Castle in Ireland.
year they broke up.
80 or 90,000 at it.
Wow.
The Prodigy were backing them that day, which was, they were outrageous. And I think Kasabian might have been on that day as well. But Oasis that day were unbelievable. But you said something about when we're... Huh?
Bet you had a few beers then.
A little few, yeah, just a few. But the thing about when we play Man City, I won't listen to Oasis.
Good man.
I won't listen to Oasis when we play Man City. It's a super.
Only Jamie Webster. When we play Man City, it's Jamie Webster.
Yeah, do you know what? Whatever comes along. But if I'm in the car the day before we play City and Oasis comes on, I'll turn them off. I genuinely will. It's a massive superstition I have. I can't believe I'm telling you this. But it's Oasis. Oasis. You can pick. You know, I don't know if you're on your way to the game, or you know, you've earphones in. 4 or 5 tracks from Oasis it can easily get you going for a game.
Absolutely. We'll move quickly then to Would You Rather. That was a great match day mixer, by the way, Gavin. Genuinely, I probably would have chosen exactly the same myself. Would you rather, the time of the show where I get our guests to decide what they would rather from these two situations. They have to give me a bit of reasoning behind them as well. So here we've got Liverpool this season, Gav. We win the Premier League, or we come second by 10 points but win the Champions League and FA Cup. What are you taking? Quick answer.
Premier League, please.
All day long, yeah?
All day long, yeah.
By a point, by goal difference, fuck it.
Oh, don't care. I don't care. You can draw lots for all I care. But I want title number 20. I want number 20 more than I want number 7. You know, there's only a couple of clubs around us: Barcelona, Bayern Munich, and then you've Real Madrid, AC Milan, that have won as many European Cups as us. We need to go. We need to go and make this title number 20, and then look for 21. So that's an easy enough one for me. Now, if we win the Premier League this season, and you ask me that in 12 months' time, I might change. But listen, you've thrown the FA Cup in there for. I forget the FA Cup even exists.
Hey, listen, we've won the FA Cup since 2006, Gav.
I don't care, mate. I don't care about it. The Premier League all day long for that one, please.
Yeah, didn't say Premier League, but Opal says Champions League. ... I mean, there's about 9 dots there all day, he says. We've got another question for you here, Gav. It's actually the same pictures, so just ignore those. But it says, have our back 5 from 2014 and our front 3 now, or vice versa? Now that, Gav.
Now, hold on. Is that 2013-14 or 14-15?
14-15. I'm not sure what I said, but yeah, 14-15. Grizz from the Daytrippers obviously said to me beforehand that Gav is going to give me some wishy-washy answer. He's not going to put his name down on a certain answer. I reckon. What are you actually going to go for here?
Our back 5 from 2014-15 and our front 3 now are vice versa. I've our back. I think you're trying to talk 13-14 there because that's close to the title. But anyway,
no. 14-15 because we know it was shit. That's the whole point.
Okay, right. So you're looking at
Mignolet, Manquillo, Moreno, Skirtle.
And then you go back, you'd have our front 3, 2014-15, which would be Sturridge,
Sturridge, Barini, fucking Balotelli, wasn't it?
So it's all shit. So our back 5 from 2014 and our front 3 from now, or our back 5 from now and the front 3 from 2014-15. I'll have the back 5 from 2014-15 and our front 3 now.
The top list is a tough question on purpose. Glad you came to an answer in the end.
Yeah, no, I definitely go with that.
Yeah, no, I would agree. Dinesh has written this a few times, so I'll show it now. But he says, did you see Sander Westerveld on the KOPS show? So he was on the KOPS earlier on, and we're obviously all a big family on YouTube, so we like to share each other's content around. So go and watch that if you can. Yeah. But Gav, talk to us just before we leave you, because I know you're a busy man. Talk to us about what's to come for the LFC Daytrippers. Obviously, I'm honoured every time I come on the show. It's a great bunch of lads. But I just want us to actually meet in the Park pub one day and have a fucking drink, because there's only so many times I can look at your pretty face with that background on the laptop, mate, before I just got to see you in the pub.
Okay, yeah, and hug me and stuff like that. I'm getting a bit worried now. Listen, as soon as restrictions are lifted, both in Dublin and Liverpool and the UK and stuff, I'll be in Liverpool. It's no, I still have flights and accommodation booked for Liverpool before the end of the season. I refuse to unbook them or cancel them. But as soon as it happens, you know, myself and I know Grizz, Keith, Shawnee, all the lads from the Daytrippers, we have somebody over there nearly every week at games, you know. But I know we had planned a big one for the parade weekend in May, and that fell asunder, obviously. But I think the lads are all chomping at the bit to get back to Liverpool. So as soon as restrictions are lifted, and we can actually go to Liverpool and enjoy ourselves, not go to Liverpool where you have to sit in groups of 5 or 6 and can only go into a pub for an hour and all this sort of shit. As soon as it disappears properly, I'm sure a big load of us will go to Liverpool. And listen, when we go to Liverpool, we don't, wrap ourselves in cotton wool and don't contact anyone that knows us is more than welcome to come and sit with us and drink for the day and have a chat and have a laugh and stuff like that. With regards to the Daytrippers, just loads of work being going in, Alex, be honest. You know, we have a Fatback 4 show on Sunday. We have a forum show, which is like a debate show on Monday. We have a midweek fix, which is usually chat around football in general, but because the football's on every week, midweek at the moment, they're usually match reactions, but we're putting in pre-game stuff as well now, where actually viewers can come on and talk to us. And then of course on Friday we do the Friday forecast, where we try look at the whole Premier League weekend and concentrate on Liverpool mostly on it, and make predictions and have a bit of a laugh. But we're serious about what we do. We work hard. We put a lot of time in production and editing and putting shows out, but we like to have a laugh as well. We like to include as many people as we possibly can, whether that's in the chat, on social media, or indeed now with some of the shows we're doing where you can literally come on and tell us how you feel, you know. So yeah, more stuff to come. There's more stuff in the pipeline at the moment with regards to more shows being added to the roster, I suppose, as you call it. And when they arrive, hopefully people like them. And as I said last night, go over, look up LFC Daytrippers on YouTube or wherever you need to find us across social media. Hit subscribe, hit like, follow, whatever. Because I genuinely believe if you do like or follow or subscribe, you won't unsubscribe. You'll find something that you like in there, you know.
Absolutely. Quick one, just because I'm absolutely desperate for the toilet, Gav. I'm not
no problem.
Lie. Mitchell here says, who's buying? That's a silly question. That would be Gav. It's been a great episode on top of the Kops, episode 20. If you want to follow Gav, check the description below. Great lads at the LFC Daytrippers. But Gav, massive thanks for coming on, and I'll see you.